A lot of people will ask if Aspect has the ability on the initial setup to import your inventory items from other sources. If you have the ability to fill out this Excel spreadsheet, either by copying or pasting or simply filling this item out, Aspect can import your initial inventory. It's a one-time import, and once you've imported or started adding items into Aspect, you cannot import again, or you will overwrite the information you already have in the system. To start with, you need to create an Excel spreadsheet that looks very similar to this one, particularly, most importantly, with row 1. It needs to have a header that looks exactly like this: name, group, count size, going all the way across the top. You don't need to worry about those. But basically row 1, all the way to column R, where you can see vendor 3 code. This is the format that's required and the specific order that's required to import it. So you can simply create this sheet yourself on your own Excel. If you need help creating this sheet, feel free to contact us, and I would be glad, or any of us would be glad, to email you a copy of this exact sheet here. Now, column C is a list starting with row 2 is a list of all the forms in which you can either inventory or purchase a product that actually imports into Aspect. Once the items are in Aspect, you will certainly have the ability to custom add any kind of names that you want, such as sleeve, pail, jar, bucket. Those are all kind of common things that like to be added into people's inventory system and how you count something. But Aspect can only import based on these names that are listed here. Another thing that's important to remember is as you enter the name, you're limited to 24 characters. If you have names that are longer, really look for ways to abbreviate or shorten that name. Remember, the name of the product that you enter here is the name that you want to be familiar with in terms of how you're going to inventory that, what you call it. So, for example, on an invoice, you might have something called, cheese, shredded, cheddar, feather, which is a feather shredded cheese, but you might just call it shredded cheddar. That would be the name that you want to be more familiar with. The group is basically, what is the group that it belongs to? Is it produce, dairy, meat, so on. The count size is basically how are you going to inventory that product. So are you going to count something by the pound? Do you count it by the bottle or the each or the bag? So on. The vendor name is simply the name of the vendor in which you purchased the product from. The vendor size is simply how you buy that product. So, for example, you might inventory something by the bag, but you purchase it by the case. So the vendor size is how you buy that product. The factor becomes how many of what you inventory is in the purchase. And we'll show some examples in a moment. The price is obviously related to how you purchase it. So the price that you would enter in is your purchase price. The vendor code is an optional field. You don't need to fill these in to complete this sheet. But the vendor code is simply the item number or product number of that individual product from your vendor. Aspect also has the ability to import up to 3 vendors. So you can do a primary vendor, but also have alternate vendors 2 and 3, where you can add their information as well. It's been my experience and suggestion that you really just worry about filling in your primary vendor. It's extremely easy to fill in your secondary vendors when you're plugging in invoices in Aspect to match their product. But if you have the information and it's handy, you can certainly put it in quickly into this spreadsheet. Another thing to remember is it doesn't matter what specific order you put these in. So you could have 3 things in a row that are produce, and you can then you could put in some dairy and some wine and liquor, and then go back to produce items as you're building this list. So there's no specific order that this needs to be filled in. Once it imports into Aspect, Aspect will import it and sort it initially by group and then alphabetically within that group. Let's get started with some examples. First, let's do shredded cheddar, an example I used earlier. My group here could be called dairy. Now, I inventory this product by the one bag. My vendor name, let's just say, is Cisco. How do I purchase this? Well, I'm going to purchase this item by the one case. Now my factor becomes, how many bags are in a case? Let's just say there are 4 bags in a case. My price is how much I purchased that for, and my vendor code would be the unique number that's unique to this product for Cisco. I'm just making up a number. When you're putting in your vendor code, it doesn't matter if it's a letter or a number. Aspect can read that all as a code. Now let's review what I put in here. I put in a product, shredded cheddar. It's going to be defined into the dairy group. So when I do my cost of sales in my inventory, this product will be, whatever the variance and whatever this product is costing me will be part of my dairy cost. I'm going to inventory it by the bag. I'm going to buy it from Cisco, and I'm going to buy it by the bag. And there's 4 bags in a case, and a case costs me $50. Now that's all the information that's in this spreadsheet, and that's all you can import. Additional information, such as the fact that this bag may have, the fact that this product may be a 20-pound case, and there's 4 bags, and they're 5-pound bags, is not entered here, because that's not how I'm inventorying the product. Aspect can easily add that information once you put the products into Aspect. You can edit it there. So the purpose of this sheet, to clarify, is to get as many items as quickly in as possible. The only conversion and factors you're worried about is how you buy it and how you count it. Don't worry about the fact that you may use 2 ounces of this in a product, because this is not where you're entering that information. Let's add a few more examples. We'll start with Bud Light. Now, I may put Bud Light bottle simply if I differentiate, because I might also have Bud Lights in kegs in my restaurant. I'm going to put this in a bottle beer group, and I'm going to inventory this product by the one bottle. I purchase it from ABC, and I buy this particular one also by the case. Once again, my factor becomes how many bottles are in a case? 24. And now I put my price in. Let's add some other examples. Let's use pound here. Let's talk about this as well. It's important when you're purchasing meat or other products where you may order a case, but you'll notice on your invoices that a lot of times your cases differentiate by pounds. So you may say I'm ordering a case of ground beef and it's approximately 40 pounds, but one case might be 39.2 pounds, another case might be 41 pounds. So it's important to know that distinction when you're plugging in your product. So let's use ground beef as an example. So I put in ground beef, and my group might be meat. I'm going to inventory this by the pound. My vendor is Cisco. Now, even though I typically get this in a case, this is the example I was speaking of where I get differentiations in weight. So I'm also going to purchase this by the pound. So when I have a situation where my count size and my vendor size are equal, my factor simply becomes 1. And perhaps I pay $1.19 for ground beef per pound. Once again, this price is based on how I purchased the product. So we can add a few more if you'd like. Let's do if I was doing a house Chardonnay. Let's just say I was doing a house Chardonnay. call it House Shard, remembering I don't want to get my name too long. There's my group. I'm going to inventory these by the bottle. I'm going to buy by the case. Now the question is again, how many bottles are in a case? The answer is 12. And my price. This should give several examples of how you want to fill this sheet out. If there are any questions, feel free to open a support ticket and we can help you with that. Or if you